Hey everybody out there in the nation, got a new video for you today. We're going to be working on a 2012 BMW X5M and replacing the rear brake pads. I'm not changing out any rotors, just going to go ahead and do the brake pads. And here's what we're looking at today, so let's get to it. Part number for this particular kit is 34216794879. Oh, let's get that spun around there. There you go. Okay, for safety, we went ahead and got the wheels chalked up. Has the jack underneath that specific pad that BMW has for jacking up the vehicle. And we have our jack staying in place. So let's go ahead and get the tire off. Alright, we got the tire off. Now what we want to do here is we're going to remove this cap, which is the flathead screwdriver. We're going to pop off our little rubber grommet here to get the brake sensor loose, and then we're going to remove this bracket. That way we can get the whole caliper off. Inside this is what is that, 7mm Allen hex head, and then you actually have one down here on the lower, so both of those will need to be removed. So you can see the back side of this with my mirror where that hex head's gonna go. I end up having to use an L-shaped style with the equalizer to go ahead and get that broke loose on both sides, so then I can use a socket to go ahead and finish pulling it out. Went ahead and got both of the caliper pins out. So these are just more of a steel shank. You can see the threads in there. Yep. So what we'll do is we'll end up lubing these up nice and well before we put them back in. You can see I use the just a standard number 7 socket to go ahead and get this out by my fingers, and I kind of had to pull them out because the rubber was gripping onto them really well. And then this bracket has little hooks, and basically this sits in the slot, the circular slot, and then the prongs are on the outside. So went ahead and just pry that out. It'll shoot off towards you, so if you just have something in front of it to hit it in, but shouldn't hurt you. Wear that eye protection. So I went ahead and pried in between the pads and the rotor just to get enough separation. You can tell these brake pads aren't too bad, but it's the other side is my main concern. It has a lot more wear than these, but anyways, you can see this separated, and we'll just go ahead and get it disassembled and get that piston pushed back in. So I'm going to use a little brake parts cleaner to go ahead and spray down the boot area and the piston itself, and I'm going to go ahead and lube up with the silicone grease around the boot before I go ahead and push this piston in. So we'll get on that. So I just went ahead and used your standard C-clamp, just kind of on the top of the caliper up there. There's a notch that you can hook to one side, and then this just sits flush on the piston, and you just slowly start turning it in. That allows to push any of that excessive fluid that came down with the brake pads from the wear and tear, goes back up into the master cylinder for the brake. So this is why you don't want to add any brake fluid to your system ever at any time, because if you do, that generally means that you have a problem. Alright, we got the piston in. Clearly, I'm using a bungee cord to help hold the caliper up. Now I'm going to go ahead and get down to these surfaces, and I'm just going to use a little screwdriver, and I'm going to scrape all these little surfaces just to make sure that I get everything off that the pads will be in contact with, so that everything can glide back and forth on these sections. There's 4 sections, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Just want to make sure those are all cleaned up, and you can always double check the backside of the caliper and the piston itself. So if you look at these brake pads, you can clearly see where the caliper contacts and the piston contacts. So I went ahead and added the silicone grease to both pads for assembly, and then I'll go ahead and add the grease to the 4 sections that we just scraped up and the back of the piston, and probably on the back side here also. So we'll get started on that, and a little bit of the sensor. And the first thing I did is went ahead and took this pad, the new pad of this, and you snap it into the caliper. And then I took this pad and went ahead and slid it on into the frame so it's in place, and then pushed the caliper on, and it just went together. So then the last section that I did is went ahead and installed the sensor. There's a little metal U-shaped spring, if you will, that goes on the sensor, and then you slide it into the pad, and it just basically kind of just snaps in, and then reinstalled the wire underneath the brake bleeding valve. So we'll go ahead and get the pins all cleaned up and then get those installed. Alright, you can see the new pad in there on one side of the rotor. The hardest part of the whole thing was actually getting the clip on, and I chipped up some paint here on the caliper, but not a big deal. I can just touch that up. You have to apply a lot of pressure after you get the 2 little prongs here in front of the main bracket, and then you can apply pressure here and pop this forward towards you and allow these 2 sections here to kind of hook into the caliper. And then I went ahead and got the pins tightened down and reinstalled the caps. I really couldn't torque them, but I went ahead, because I couldn't get an actual ratchet torque wrench back there to torque those specs, but I was able to get them as tight basically as it was when I took them off. So that'll kind of wrap up this side here. We'll get the wheel installed and then move over to the other side. Alright folks, that wraps it up for today. Feel free to comment down below, and I'll see you next time.